Well, hello again from outside the Parc des Princes here. I was bringing you my thoughts from inside the ground a few moments ago when this happened. Then given that is given what I was saying about the moment we're going to come to very shortly, I honestly thought I would turn around and see a Polish referee on my shoulder making all that noise, telling me to leave the stadium. Anyway, as it was, we're out here now, and what this does allow me is it gets me a little bit closer to the pub. I need a drink after that. Now I'm going to take you guys with us. Let's see if we can find somewhere that's open. But in the meantime, where do you start with that? Well, the only place to start is at the very end. Kylian Mbappe's equalising penalty in the 98th minute, but that does not tell the story. The story is all about the award of it. Now, I'll take you inside what I saw, what I've heard, different people I've spoken to from the moment of the penalty, and we'll see where that takes us, because it's the story that's dominating all of the back pages tomorrow. It's what we've spoken to Eddie Howe about, to Luis Enrique about, and yeah. We're in the press box, and as the ball bounces up, you can see we're watching. The copy is gone. I filed my copy with being a late gamer. The deadline's a little bit earlier, so I'm actually watching the game come this point. Whereas in the second half, a lot of the time we've got our head down. It bounces up and it hits his arm. But even on first viewing, I'm sat there with colleagues from the northeast, and you say not a penalty. It then goes to VAR review, and you're a little bit nervous because, again, not talking as from your perspective here as supporters, as a journalist, you're a little bit nervous because it would mean bringing your copy back and having to do a total rewrite. But you then see the replay, and we all say to each other, oh, that's okay, it's no penalty. It comes off his body, up onto his arm, under guidelines, and we watch Premier League football every week, that will not be given. The referee comes over at the monitor, and you think it's going to be okay. So for him to turn around and point to the spot was just, we were absolutely staggered. We really were, and it was all of the words which we've just put to Eddie Howe. We've put robbery to him, we've put injustice to him. He agreed with injustice, he wouldn't be quite led down the robbery path, but I thought Eddie's reaction afterwards as well spoke volumes of himself, really, and I thought it was very classy. He had every reason there to come in and say what he wanted to about the officials, given the ludicrous nature of the award, and he didn't, and that's to his credit. There are other managers we all know, some who have played against Newcastle fairly recently, perhaps wouldn't have done that. But does that make the injustice and the hurt for him any less? Well, no, of course it doesn't. And what is the frustrating thing is that now after the award, we say to each other, all right, okay, maybe UEFA guidelines are different and Newcastle have fallen foul of the rules here, but they're actually not. There's clear guidance from UEFA to officials at the start of the season that balls which ricochet off a defender then up onto their arm shouldn't be given as penalties. So that's there in the guidance. Okay, was that guidance brought in? You then go away and check. I've spoken to Mark Clattenburg, whose book I wrote, I know really well, straight onto him, said, you work in these circles, is it a penalty? What is the guidance, the guidelines? He says, no, that should not be given as a penalty. There are other voices as well. One current Premier League referee sent a message to a colleague saying, no, in with UEFA, that should not be a penalty. So for that to compound it as well, on the back of, and we haven't even got to this yet, on the back of such a magnificent performance, yes, Newcastle rode the luck. Yes, when we come to a merit stars, there might be a certain goalkeeper who's very high up in that discussion, but nonetheless, they were always going to have to do that coming here, and they'd done it. They'd executed a game plan. Yes, it was a little bit of a ropey start. Inside 30 seconds, again, I turned to my colleagues in the press box and think this could be a long night, and Mbappe sets off on one of those runs where his frame is almost blurred, and it brings into focus how slow everybody is by comparison. But while his legs might be quicker than Kieran Trippier, I don't think his brain is, and Trippier really quickly got to grips with Mbappe. We saw Mbappe play left wing, right, we went to the right wing, and then he came up against Tino Livramento, who was having an even better game than Kieran Trippier. He then went to the centre, he got no joy there either. So for the second game running against Paris Saint-Germain, and arguably the world's best footballer, Newcastle have done a job on him. So for him to be given that chance at the end, it feels cruel, and the worst part of it is that it totally changes the complexion of the group. Now, that decision could have a huge impact on Newcastle for years to come. That might sound extreme, but it is. When you break it down, Newcastle were at 1-0 going into the last game against AC Milan, knowing that a victory puts them into the knockout rounds. And I think they would beat, in that circumstance, I think they would beat AC Milan at home. As it is now, having jumped from 4th to 2nd, they're now back down into 3rd. They've got to beat AC Milan, and they've got to hope that Paris Saint-Germain don't win against Dortmund. That's entirely possible, by the way, because Paris Saint-Germain, from what I've seen over 2 games, aren't very good. Newcastle are better than them and deserve to finish above them in this group and go through. That is a conversation for another day. Right now, we're reflecting on what's happened here, and the point I make, if Newcastle don't go through in the Champions League, for all the reasons I mentioned in the preview video, that has a huge impact on their ability to spend in January, in summer, and perhaps even beyond if they don't get back into the Champions League through the Premier League this season. And that is the frustration. And when Eddie was sat there with us, and by the way, as he's talking there with us, it's his birthday tomorrow. Today, we're an hour ahead here in Paris, so he'd actually totally forgotten about that, you know, so deflated was he. And I think that was the word, because while there was eventually at the end there, once we got all the questions out the way about referees and injustice, you know, he said, yes, of course, there is a sense of pride, but he won't be able to feel that emotion just yet. And it's crazy that this speaks to how well they played, that you come away from a place like Paris after a 1-1 draw, which I think all you guys from a Newcastle perspective would have taken beforehand, and there is that sense of disappointment. It is, and I feel disappointed as a journalist because I've watched a team play there, and I've committed a lot in copy to that being Newcastle United's greatest European victory, perhaps, you know, well, certainly their greatest Champions League victory. You know, the other famous ones, Feyenoord, it's against Feyenoord, Barcelona was at home, Paris Saint-Germain in this competition was at home as well. So to come here and be so close to what was a deserved 1-0 victory and not get it, I just think is pretty galling. Now, before we reflect on how they got themselves in such a brilliant position, one other thing which just popped into my head there, there was an incident earlier in the game where Louis Miley, the ball bounces off him, and they've looked at that and decided that it wasn't a penalty when it's brushed his arm. So you've got there the inconsistency and the clear evidence of guidelines being followed and then not followed in the last minute with a goal, like I say, which just totally changes the complexion of everything. Now, how did Newcastle get themselves in such a good position? As I said, they had that start where you're saying, you know, long night looks a little bit shaky, but after that they recovered and they were the better team, and they take the lead. It's brilliant through work from Tino Livramento, dancing by about, you know, 4 players, has the shot, come back out, Alexander Isak puts it in. You know, from that point on, I wouldn't even say it was backs to the wall. Yes, Nick Pope has made 7 saves, you know, 2 or 3 of them absolutely outstanding saves as well at that. But Newcastle had the chances. There was a spell of 10-15 minutes in the first half where I thought Newcastle actually bossed it, where they dominated it, where there was one incident right in front of us in the press box where it was in the left back position, and they've worked the ball out with Bruno to to Livramento. They've switched play through Miley, and they've got, seconds later, they've got the ball in the right wing position. You just think, wow, this is against one of the most expensively assembled teams in the world in their own backyard, and the manner in which they work their way out from that position. I don't know if you guys can remember it. It's a pretty nuanced reflection. But I said to the other guys next to me, I said, wow, that is a team playing with absolute, you know, extreme confidence in themselves and their teammates, and understanding as well. And to do that again with, Newcastle went to that game with 11 players. Let's be honest. Yes, Lewis Hall was on the bench, you know, evidenced by no changes. But they didn't have a bench there today. They didn't. So for those 11 players, on the back of the same 11 players who put in such a brilliant effort against against Chelsea on Saturday, to come and do it again, wow, doesn't that speak for the spirit and the respect they've got for each other and for the manager, that they can do it again 2 or 3 days later. And yeah, I keep on coming back to that word. It was just so deserved, the position they found themselves in. Where do they go from that, you know, second half? Yes, again, there's that one close range save from Nick Pope. It's quite incredible, really, how he pulls it off. And there were so many performances, individual performances, worthy of mention. Now, this brings us onto my merit marks, and I go past there. Yeah, the merit marks. 3 stars. You've got to go Nick Pope. You've got you can't deny that without Pope, Newcastle wouldn't have been in that position towards the end there. Now, I don't want to give it to the goalkeeper, because I think it was just, sometimes when you give man the match to the goalkeeper, it indicates a team they've been on the back foot, and they've been battered and all the rest of it, and they've been really, really fortunate. That's why I don't want to give it to him, but I think you can't escape the fact that you've got to really. So good were his saves at such important times as well. 2 stars, Tino Livramento. You know, how can you not? This guy, he every time we see him, we say that's his best game yet. But he's building on man the match performances every time now. He would have been man the match if it hadn't been for giving it to Nick Pope. I thought again he was just brilliant, and for again that sense of injustice is amplified by the fact that it is Livramento who ultimately does concede the penalty there right at the very end. But Livramento gets the 2 stars. The role in the goal we've already touched on, where I just thought all night I thought he was absolutely brilliant. Another top showing from him. And you look at him now and you probably say would be, even when everyone else is fit, in that strongest 11, wherever that may be on the pitch. And the 1 star, there were a lot of contenders for this one. You know, I thought Miguel Almiron had a fantastic first half, faded more in the second half. Anthony Gordon was busy and buzzed around, and by the way, my comparison between Gordon and Kylian Mbappe, that's probably unfair on Gordon. He was better than Mbappe there again tonight. I think it's probably harsh on Gordon on reflection. He works harder and he runs harder than him, and he's certainly more penetrative. So you've got Gordon, worthy of mention. And who else is that? You know, Bruno had another good game in the middle. Louis Miley, again, 17-year-old going there. How hasn't he featured on the stars? But no, the one's got to go to Kieran Trippier. I touched on it there before. Up against Kylian Mbappe, and just to be able to outfox him in the way he did. There was actually one point where Trippier gets the ball and goes by Mbappe as if he's Kylian Mbappe. It was quite remarkable, and I did enjoy a moment in the first half where Mbappe stands still with the ball, he faces up, and Trippier's there, and Trippier gets Louis Miley with him, Newcastle's oldest player, Newcastle's youngest player, and it's almost like, you know, the dad taking his lad to confront the school bully. Well, Mbappe looked at them and he turned around and ran away and went elsewhere. So yeah, Kieran Trippier does get the 1 star, and again on nights like this, he just shows that Champions League know-how, that experience, that wiliness, like he did in Milan. Yeah, guys, now I can see in the distance there that we're getting closer to some neon-lighted licensed premises. So let's go and see if they are serving a beer. Please click on the links in the description below. As I said, that was a hell of a rewrite, having gone from the glory of Newcastle's greatest European night and giving Kylian Mbappe a little bit of a kick in for his performance, to him then scoring the equalising goal. But you know, I said Paris as a city, it's a deceptive city here. You look up and you wonder at its beauty, you look back down and you wonder where your wallet has gone, and that was much like what happened with Kylian Mbappe and the officials. Yeah, Newcastle were robbed here. It's what we leave here. We leave here talking about, what we leave here feeling. Like I say, guys, click on those links in the description below, and on we roll now to the weekend against Manchester United. Yeah, it doesn't stop, does it? But first of all, let's see if we can get a really quick beer. Okay, so the good news is I've found a beer. The bad news is, oh, this is bad news. No, there we go. And there you go, guys. There's Alexander Isak scoring in the background. That's good timing. I can say the bad news is they're showing the whole rerun of Paris Saint-Germain against Newcastle, and we know what's coming. There isn't a very good ending, is there? That does mark the end of this video. In fact, there you go. Can you spot yourself celebrating? That marks the end of this video, guys. Please hit like, please comment, please hit subscribe. I'll be back at the end of the week. Yeah, look ahead to Manchester United. Okay, take care, stay safe. Safe journey home tomorrow. See you soon. Bye bye.